My name is John Wilson. I'd like to address all of Australia's current and the past former Australian trade unionists. I want to address you all as a former ranking Canberra and a ranking Queensland trade unionist. I want to cover a fair bit of ground with you today with this upload, if I may. In years gone past, the matters that I intend to raise with you today may well have been raised and settled in the public bar of the Kingston Hotel down in Canberra, or even the Breakfast Creek Hotel up here in Brisbane. But ordinary working men and women no longer have a voice in these places anymore. My relationship with the trade unions goes not just when I was an official of the union, but I've backed the union lads over the years. Glenn Parry, who was a crane driver, the former assistant secretary of the CFMEU down in Canberra, died of pancreatic cancer, and I supported Glenn, right up to his death. I'm not just there for the good times. I'm there as a supporter of the union all the time. Forced vaxxers is an Australian trade union litmus test. Everyone needs to understand that for any Australian trade union to support forced vaccination, that is a litmus test for those unions. And what it means is that the leadership of your trade union is a captive operation of international forces. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but I want to assure you all I'm very serious. I want you to know that there are two international global forces at play. There is a silent war taking place, and unless you grasp this fact, then you, your family, and your country are in grave danger. Yes, we are at war. There is a war being waged against all of us, and the national leaderships and the local leaderships of your trade unions are batting for the opposition team. I want you to know that. One of these forces seeks to betray and entrap you. It wants to seduce you and play upon your ignorance, which is a result of their deceit and their deceptions. You must understand the scale of the deceptions and deceit that are in play now have never been seen before. I want to appeal to all Australians. The Australian working class are Australia's last hope. If ever before your country has needed you, it has been now. All of our election systems are corrupted, and we cannot vote these criminals out. I mean, I don't know what we can do. I mean, I have no faith in any of our national or regional election systems. I think there are overseas sovereign forces and other forces at play which are interfering in our elections. All of this coronavirus narrative, okay, that's out there at the moment, this is not our story. It's their story, right? This is not our story. It's their story they're trying to push. I mean, how much longer can they keep their lies a secret? I'm not so sure. I mean, they are leaking like a sieve. Their whole narrative as to why they are doing what they are doing, which is psychotic behaviour. And remember, all these lockdowns, etc., are fully supported by your union leaderships. There is an entire global currency reset in play, and yet no union is raising this. I mean, do you honestly think that this debt that's being run up is going to be paid back? At this point in Australians' history, it is critical for all Australian trade unionists to reclaim ownership of your trade union or set up a competitor, a direct competitor. All of this debt that's being run irresponsibly, billions and billions of it, it's not our debt. All of these laws that they keep throwing at us, one after one, at will, these are not our laws. How can Alan Joyce from Qantas, how can he get millions and millions of dollars of union members' C++ superannuation scheme monies for Qantas, when at the same time he's sacking thousands of union maintenance workers here in Australia? I mean, how can these things be allowed to happen? How can the unions look the other way with all of the evidence that's out there? I want to talk about the relationship between the Australian trade union movement and their relationship with the Australian Labor Party, plus these international globalists and i.e. the bankers. My background comes from the CFMEU. It comes from construction. Now, I can tell you now, in 1989, I was involved in a very serious clean out up here in Queensland within the CFMEU. It was the Federated Engine Drivers and Firemen's Association. It was a very, very powerful union around Australia and up here in Queensland. It was corrupt, and we had to come up here with national intervention and clean them out. I can also tell you right now that currently, right now, the leadership in the CFMEU in New South Wales are currently being charged, and they've got to appear and deal with criminal charges. So they're going through the mincer. Now, down in Victoria, I mean, we have the Victorian Small Business people lodge a criminal investigation over breaches of OH&S, and they've named people inside of the union movement and the Victorian government. So there's criminal charges going to come down there. Look, there's been plenty of examples of corruption inside of the Australian trade union movement. Look at the Health Services Union. Look at all the ALP branch stacking. There's plenty of examples. I now want to talk about Sharon Burrow. Very, very important to know that this agenda, this global agenda that has these two forces fighting over it, is represented. Australia is represented. All the unions Australia are represented via an organ called the International Confederation of Trade Unions. And Sharon Burrow, a former Australian ACTU heavyweight, is the person that chairs all this. Now, Sharon Burrows has been rubbing shoulders for several years now with people like Christine Lagarde, Greta Thunberg, the Pope, and Lynn Forrester de Rothschild. She's been tied very closely in with all of the elite cabal, the Davos, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, all of that cabal. She's tied in at the hip. So I want to say that the working class people of Australia should not have any faith or any trust in the Australian trade union movement leadership. They've sold you out. You need to understand that. And they've sold you out to an international force, a global force, largely made up of bankers, but also others. So you shouldn't have any faith. I don't think we should have any faith in our police, in our court systems, none whatsoever. Also in our big corporation employers, particularly in retail and the airline industries, but all of them. I don't think we should have any faith in these state premiers, the way they are acting. Australians have lost all sense of national identity and sovereignty. We're being governed by corporation, contract and maritime laws. In the same way that Australia's military men and women have no faith nor trust in their senior brass and defence minister. We're all going to find out very soon the scope and the depth of these deceptions and the betrayal of the Australian people and the Australian trade unionists. We're going to find this out, ladies and gentlemen. And after looking at what they have and what we don't have, but I don't believe anyone should need to die in this. No one. I think that the secret is we've got to simply shut this government down. We've got to shut them down from governing. Stop them from being able to govern. The longer they're able to govern, the more damage that they are able to do. They are thieves. They are thieves. And the longer they're in government is the longer that they will steal and sign over ownership for every direct Australian asset that we have. I also fear that these paramilitary thugs that these state governments are brought into play will deploy sound and or frequency-based crowd dispersal weapons. Okay, so I've got a real and I think a genuine fear of the use of those being rolled out against us. Now, the longer they're in power, the more danger they are to the public. We must literally take steps to shut these governments down, all of them. Now, no one, I don't want anyone to die. I don't want anyone to get caught up in confrontations and get hurt. I've seen some of the damage that's being done with these rubber bullets and these stun grenades and flash grenades and so on. Now, what do I mean by shutting them down? The corporate media, including the ABC, these people are an enemy of all Australians, all Australians. You've got to switch off all of this corporate media, all of it. Don't listen to them. They are literally an enemy of the Australian people. Switch off all the services into and out of all these corporate media channels. Okay, I mean, I don't care what it is. Switch them off. Don't let these organs, these psychopathic liars continue to go out there unchallenged. Switch them off. Switch off all services to and from all government and all of its non-essential services, including its hired thugs that they use for police and their courts. Okay, switch them off. Don't service any of them. Any fuel, any water, any sewage, any electricity. Nothing. Switch them off. If you've got access, turn the government off. Don't allow them to operate against us. Turn your back on your national leadership of the union and take steps to switch them off. Don't get involved in a confrontation where you may get killed or injured by these hired thugs. Cease all government revenue collection. I mean, no parking tickets, no train or bus fares, no tolls, no bridges, no tunnels. Refuse to allow these governments to be able to govern. Again, don't just refuse to cooperate. Refuse to be tested, jabbed, tracked or questioned. Refuse to answer police or indeed any authorities' questions, and always film the police and government. If you ever got any interactions with them, make sure you film it. We have to fully blacklist and secondary boycott all things government, okay? Refuse to plead guilty and spread and appeal every conviction. Last things on in case of the coronavirus is make sure ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine is available everywhere. Last couple of points I want to say. Listen, blacklisting, and what do I mean? Making sure that your political opponent cannot earn a living and feed their family. And trace and tracking that they're talking about is blacklisting. Unions have never been supported nor associating or agreeing with blacklisting people. Never in my days. If the government is going to blacklist us, then we have a right to blacklist them. To the judges, all the judges and the officers of the Workplace Relations Commission. You know that we are in an historical time. This is not just another political cycle. It's an historical time. It's the sacred duty of all of the officers and judges of the Workplace Relations Commission to step in and protect the lawful rights of all Australian workers. The working class people of Australia now have no faith nor trust in our police forces nor our judicial systems, as well as our big corporation employers, particularly in the retail and airline industries. It has gone well beyond coercion. It is now outright threats to jobs, access to transport, and indeed shopping for groceries and schooling. Every working man, woman and child is affected. In the same way, the Australian military men and women have no faith nor trust in their senior brass and minister. I mean, ask blokes like Ricardo Bossi and he will tell you. There was no need for the thousands of Australians who have already died throughout the way all of this alleged pandemic has been handled. Those people in aged care homes, in private and public hospitals, in successful suicides. By the way, our military is having 2 suicides a week. In locked down public housing, in and amongst our local kids. There was no need for these people to have died. Like there is no need for the many more thousands of Australians who will die, not only in those circumstances as outlined above, but also in violent confrontations with state-based militarised police and security forces. These people will be those who will put up the strongest resistance to this great betrayal. People like me, people like Brother Graham Hood, the Qantas pilot, people like Monica Schmidt, the jailed Victorian activist, the Aussie Cossack from Sydney, our ex-New South Wales police senior constable, Alex Cooney, and our current New South Wales teachers spokesperson. The Australian trade union movement have removed themselves from the entire struggle of epic importance. The unions have vacated the floor. In fact, many of them are openly blackleg scabbing on their long-suffering union members. This is a betrayal of epic proportions. And all those unions who have endorsed the no jab, no job employer policy now also face huge liability exposures. The Australian unions do not have any legal immunity from medically damaged union members. Workplace Relations Commission judges do not swear an oath or do not have to swear an oath to the bar. At least I think you don't have to. And if you do, then this oath must be broken. You've got to swear your oath to the Australian people. They need your help right now. The office of the Workplace Commission Fair Work Australia must remove from the table the ability of any employer or corporation to induce or coerce a change to the contract of employment into a no jab, no job. Every union or non-union working man or woman must be afforded the maximum protections under the Workplace Relations Act, the Australian Human Rights Act, the Privacy Act, and all occupational health and safety acts. They must ensure that all police commissioners and police officers fully understand what the Australian employment and workplace relations laws are. The police need to understand exactly what laws are in place. The judges must ensure that any third-party boycotts that are applied to innocent non-jabbed workers, then the full weight of Section 45D and Section 45E of the Trade Practices Act be brought into place and brought to bear. If Qantas wants to boycott a working man for not having a vaccination, then Qantas ought to be criminally pursued and civically sued as well under the illegal secondary boycotts of the Trade Practices Act. The Workplace Relations Commission must ensure how evidence on social media can be used to prosecute anyone. Deep fake and fabricated evidence is everywhere, and all police must have any access to social media accounts of Australians withdrawn and outlawed. All contracts and penalties must be annulled. Any contracts and penalties that are applying to silence employees must be annulled. We have Queensland nurses and midwives who, if they speak out about vaccine, face 10 years in jail. All of these penalties, all of these provisions must be annulled. People must be able to speak freely. The global and the Australian corporate media are unhinged and are scaring the Australian public without medical nor scientific reasons to do so. Sanity must be regained and real evidence must prevail. Enough of this COVID madness and misinformation. I've been asked to pass this on to you, okay, and I thought about whether or not I should bring this into my presentation tonight, but I'll bring this in. I said to you that there are two forces at war, and this is from one of those forces at war. It says, you must understand that there is a military operation liberating humanity and removing a hidden crime syndicate that has been enslaving humanity for hundreds of years. Understand that COVID is the theatre that sets the stage to remove, reset, and awaken humanity from the illusion of freedom. Understand that all political, financial, pharmaceutical scenarios are part of the same military operation behind the COVID stage. Understand that this operation is all about cleaning up an evil matrix of corruption, human traffic and toxic mind-body pollution that has hijacked our planet. The scenarios that play out and come together will collapse that matrix. It has been steadily imploding for years now anyhow. It will all come crashing down. The financial market system, the political law enforcement system, the main social media system, the pharmaceutical drug system. The world as you know it will come to an end, and it is only like this that we can start the new, when we flip the switch from SWIFT, the international settlements, to a quantum financial system, from maritime to military, and then on to natural law, from mainstream media / the Mossad operation into Project Odin, from toxic drugs to med beds, from state oil-based energy to Telsa technology, from Australian-backed dollars backed by zero to an XRP crypto, which is backed by the international standards, metals, gold and silver, etc. It's all connected. Look, I've been asked to let people know that as long as Australia remains truthful to its values, loyal to its citizens, and devoted to its creator, then the best days of Australia are yet to come. I want to read this last piece out. It's a snippet from the Communist Party manifesto. It doesn't go for long. It says this: the modern labourer, on the contrary, instead of rising with the process of industry, sinks deeper and deeper below the conditions of existence of his own class. He becomes a pauper, and pauperism develops more rapidly than population and wealth. And here it becomes evident that the bourgeoisie is unfit any longer to be the ruling class in society and to impose its conditions of existence upon society as an overriding law. It is unfit to rule because it is incompetent to assure an existence to its slave within its slavery, because it cannot help letting him sink into such a state that it has to feed him instead of being fed by him. Society can no longer live under this bourgeoisie. In other words, its existence is no longer compatible with society. Your trade union leadership, right up internationally, ladies and gentlemen of Australia, are part of the bourgeoisie. That's the side they've chosen. Thank you.